We've got to have a big old conversation about Mohamed Salah, unfortunately. Normally, conversations we have about Mo Salah are filled with superlatives, so we could wax lyrical about him and say, oh, yeah, all the great things, all the best possible things you can about the Egyptian king. However, at the moment, not just today, we can take today in isolation, have a conversation about this, but let's be frank about it. There's a wider conversation now around Mo, because we are, since the international break, really, he's not been at it. Obviously, stayed behind in that break, and it felt like that was the best possible thing. Get him a little bit of freshness into his legs, maybe give him a couple of days off if he needs it, get him back up to speed. But for whatever reason, for large parts of the season, we've sat here, quite literally us two, and said, do you know what? Mo wasn't quite at it today, but scored twice, didn't he? So that's sound. And obviously,
papers over the cracks a lot.
It does, of course it does, yeah. And obviously at the moment, not only is he not really scoring in the manner which he was then, but also his performances are miles off it. Yeah. And today is no exception, because just not it. And listen, the front line as a collective, and Liverpool as a collective, weren't at it for this game, nor the Atlanta one. But my word, like when it's Mo Salah level, and when the stakes are so high and it matters so much, that's when you want your Mo Salahs of this world to step up and go, okay, I've got this, you're not at it, don't worry about it. He's gone the other way a little bit.
He has, and I'll say it now, I hate post-AFCON Mo Salah. Like, it's just not, he's not that, he doesn't come back the same guy, he's not the same animal, and it's almost been writings on the wall a little bit with Mo Salah in terms of the performances. It was always going to be a point of, what happened, the question, maybe the question we probably could have asked a couple of months ago, really, everything's great because the position that you find yourselves in all four competitions, winning things week after week and finding a way out and finding the answer to all the hardest questions. But what happens if Mo Salah stops scoring? What do we get from this player? Because at the start of the season, he was getting assists as well. He was creative. He was a creative force for this team. Moving trends a little bit more inside meant he had to be a little bit more of a winger again in a certain sense. But there's been such a dip in his actual overall performances that you can't hide away from anymore. And it's sad, because the numbers of goals that he scored and the amount of big goals that he scored as well, who are we to criticise him? Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, who are we? Like, it's not fair that we have to have this position of looking at Salah's game and trying to dissect it, because I can't lace his boots. Do you know what I mean? None of us can in that sense, but we've both got a set of eyes and we can both see it and call a spade. His performances of, again, he might feel it's a bit harsh because he might think, I've been playing. He might come out at the end of the season and say, I played for 3 months with an injury and it was something that I couldn't get over, and I still put the ball in the back of the net more than I didn't. And you think, all right, fair enough, you cut him a little bit of slack, but in the moment it just feels really raw, and it feels like a big wound that your best player, your actual talisman, your go-to guy isn't on it, and he's not. He looks wasteful on the ball. His simple link-up passes and everything's overcomplicated. He wants too many touches. And I remember Salah used to be selfish and snatch at a lot and just try and then you'd forgive him because he'd still pop up and score the goals and he'd be getting involved in creating. But he's not even getting to be that selfish Salah anymore, where there's just an abundance of chance, because he's not giving himself the time or the space to get away from a man. It's almost like he's lost a yard of pace without losing the yard of pace. It's like the football brain of him's lost the yard of pace, because instead of doing the simple things of, right, get the ball, give it and go, and I'm back on my bike and I'm into space, he's getting the ball, he's getting it caught under his feet, he's trying to then get it back and he's having to go backwards. So the passes are never really setting him up to be back on the front foot. Everything's then it's almost like the play breaks down with Salah.
Yeah, no, you're right, and that's obviously alarming in itself, but you're spot on. He used to be the banker so often that you'd get the ball to Salah and therefore you'd play from there, and that is where things would happen. But you're right, at the minute it feels reverse from that. It feels like when you do give it to Salah, we do almost start again, whether it be Conor Bradley or Trent as it was second half, or Harvey Elliott comes over and helps out, and that's fine because that happens, you recycle and you go again. But when it's Mo Salah, especially up against what was a bit of a makeshift side of Palace's defence with Lerma, who's a centre mid by trade, you think, get at him and do him and win as a penalty, beat him, score, whatever it may be. But it's just not happening for him at the moment. And I've sat here before and been ever so slightly critical of Mo Salah, and it's always been like, write him off at your peril. But at the moment, I don't know whether that's the case anymore, and that's the biggest concern.
Really. It's a massive concern, but at the end of the day, you've got to stick with him. there's not enough games.
Certainly
now.
between now and the
there's
season.
there's not enough games now to really to say, right, take him out the firing line. He's playing cold. He's not in the form of his life. Just take. No, you can't. Some players you can do that with, and there are some points in the season. If he was showing this form in October, maybe just give him a couple of weeks off, go and send him on his holidays for a week or whatever with his family, let him get it out of his own head, and everything will be fine. But at this point in the season, it's stand up and be counter time. And I think the most frustrating thing for me with Salah is he's the one where, as I said, same with Verge, captain for his country, Verge captain for his country, but when it comes to Liverpool, there's a different pressure that it involves, and I think it does take a different set of characteristics to really captain this Liverpool team full of players. And again, it's not a team full of egos, but it's a team full of quality. But in order to I say John Henson, I thought I'd be fucking saying his name twice in a player ranking show to really emphasise the point, but that's what he was able to do, really drag out the best of the players that were around them, as well
even
as
though they were better than him,
even when you were better than him. Do you know what I mean? And it's very difficult where Salah's concerned, because Luis Suarez, on his own up front, or with Sterling and Sturridge around him, he brought them to a world-class level. Diaz and Nunes are better than... Sturridge was a better natural finisher than but in terms of what they potentially could go on to do, Sturridge's body was already on the way to be breaking down. They're on their up, their young lads haven't hit their prime yet. Salah should be dragging the best out of those two lads to say, right, I'm world class. If you're going to be playing on the pitch with me, you've got to be world class as well, and you're going to play up to world class, because I'm going to ping your balls. I'm going to put it on a plate for you. I'm going to make. Do you know how good Suarez made Sterling look that season? Yeah. Sterling didn't have to do nothing but have pace.
Yes, yeah.
And that, do you know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest issue for Salah at the moment. Not only is he not able to be the output, which was like, all right, we'll give you a bribe for the bad performances because the outputs of the goals, that's the currency. But you're not actually able to improve the team. The team looks worse with you in it.
No, it does. Yeah, you're absolutely spot on, because it is. It's the simples, it's the fundamentals of the game right now that he's not doing well.
I sound like a proper prick, though.
No, but it's ultimately it's true. There's one in this game whereby, if he gets his touch right, he probably fires home, and he has that big chance, of course, which he doesn't really get hold of either. The connection's not quite there. It allows Mitchell to get back and clear. Yeah, so it is. And again, It's symptomatic of the entire team, the entire performance right now. But when it's Mo Salah, and it's been evidence for a good few weeks now, some would argue the entire season, it is what it is. There's a conversation.
He's the only one as well where you don't necessarily rely on confidence, if that makes sense.
Doesn't feel like he needs to be confident.
He doesn't need to be confident to score all of a sudden, but this is probably the most unconfident I've ever seen Mo Salah in a Liverpool shirt, and that's scary because it's unfamiliar. And that's what's unnerving, because it's a really unfamiliar feeling that you've got a player with the ability of Mohamed Salah, but without the confidence. It's weird.
Odd. Yeah. Score number.
I'm just gonna get it going. I'm going to give him a 6. Okay. I feel like I'm trying to let the scores be the positives as opposed to the actual comments.